Hello and welcome back for another episode of Patriotic Housewife. Boy, oh boy, you guys. Rob McCoy is at it again. Per usual, he cannot stop talking. And not only can he not stop talking, but he can't stop telling lies. The more he talks, the more he buries himself. And he's a perfect example of why you're told that you have the right to remain silent. Because the more you talk, the more you hurt yourself. He's like the best example of a narcissist, and he can't allow himself to stop talking. He's just too important to stop talking. So the video that I want to show you guys was posted by Redemption Church, and it's called, I think the title of it is something like The Church in Israel, and it was posted last Sunday, and of course, they had Rob McCoy speak. So we're going to go ahead and watch that, and we're just going to go over it because I just when you think, like I said, you can't get any more aggravated with him, he finds a way to make you more aggravated. So let's just go ahead and bring that up to the screen. We're going to play this little clip and I'm going to pause.
And I became pastor emeritus in June, and Charlie did the speech at my gala. And his last directive at that speech in June was that he wants me to go over to Israel and start a work there to bring pastors over to Israel. So contrary to what you've been hearing in the carnal Christian soap opera, and if you've tuned into that, stop it. It's gossip and slander. I'll give you an example, and I won't share anything that hasn't already been shared publicly. I'm
going to pause that for a second, you guys, because I don't know a pastor that talks like this. It doesn't seem very Christian to me. And we're spending time at church gossiping and slandering. So the very thing he's accusing other people of and calling it a soap opera, he is doing that exact thing. I don't know how he doesn't realize that, but let's just continue.
Chosen to remain silent simply because I was Charlie's pastor and I'm ministering now to his widow.
Did you hear that? He said he's chosen to remain silent, but he hasn't been silent. He literally talks about this every sermon he does. He is always talking.
And if she doesn't want to speak, I won't speak. The servant speaks when he's spoken to, and he offers his opinion when he's asked. And God's called me to serve Charlie and serve Erica. That being said, things have been shared on the show and things that I can speak to. Number one, I'm being accused of murdering Charlie or being complicit in the murder of Charlie, as is my son, Michael. And it all stemmed from a Sunday service I gave 72 hours after Charlie was murdered, the first Sunday after his murder. And I'd gotten a call the day of the shooting from my son. And he had made, I think, 2 phone calls before he called me. One to his wife, obviously, very short call. I think the other was to Erica to tell her husband had been shot. And the third was to me, and I could hear in his voice. And the boy's one of the most calm human beings I've ever met. I've never seen him cry. He is one of the most steady human beings. And at the time, he's 23 years of age, and his mentor is bloodied. And he said, "Dad, there's blood everywhere. Charlie's been shot in the neck. Please call pastors to pray." And I said, "I will, son." And I hung up. I told my wife, and there was panic in the house, and everyone calmed down. We prayed, started making calls. We packed bags to get to Utah. On the way to the airport, we were informed that Charlie had died. We landed at the FBO, went straight to the hospital. When I got there, I saw Frank Turk, the apologist for Christian faith, who's also being accused of being complicit, doing hand signals, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And
again, is this how a pastor talks, to call people stupid and to make fun of people? This is him in front of a congregation at church. My pastor would never talk like this, ever.
If you buy into that, you are feeding your flesh. And you are attacking the character of another human being by vain supposition. And innuendo.
By asking questions, you are attacking them. By asking questions, by critically thinking.
And that's carnality. Frank Turk is one of the most humble men I've ever met. Brilliant too. And I saw him at the hospital, and he was in hospital scrubs. And I saw 3 members of the security detail in hospital scrubs. I said, "Did you guys operate on him? Why are you wearing these?" They said, "Our clothes were covered in blood." Well, from that illustration, I assumed my son was too. And when I got to the hotel in Salt Lake City and he was wearing.
Hold on to that comment, guys, when he says that they changed. And so he assumed his son was covered in blood too. Give it time.
Wearing clothes he hadn't been wearing before. I just assumed they were covered in blood. And so 72 hours later, I said my son was covered in blood. They called me a liar, and now I'm complicit in the death of Charlie.
Okay, here's what I have to say to this. You just said that you only say things that you know are in fact. He literally just said that right out of his mouth. But you just admitted that you regurgitated information that you assumed without confirming. And what's the saying? Assumptions. My mom used to say assumptions make AASS out of you and me, right? And once again, we're calling people stupid. We're calling people stupid. Okay. I just wanted to repeat that part that he said he only repeats things that are in fact. But he just said that he repeated something out of assumption.
You see how stupid that is? It's just it's beyond crazy.
We see how stupid you're being.
And it's just frustrating. Found out this week. I knew secondhand, so I spoke not of it. I'd only speak on things I have evidence of. And everyone's saying, you know things, you need to talk. First of all, I'm not an employee of Turning Point. I'm not involved in their staff meetings. I have no idea what's happening with the investigation. I did hear secondhand that the university said they had the roofs covered, so that the security detail for Charlie didn't have to worry about the roofs. And I didn't say anything. I was silent.
Which, if you watch Baron Coleman, he brought up a great point. And sorry, I'm pausing this again, but he brought up a point when he watched that interview that I didn't even think of when I saw the text and they said, got you covered or whatever. I didn't think about how Baron Coleman put it, which is, hey, we're going to give you access to the two things that you asked for. Not that they were responsible to cover them, but we will give you access, which in return they did. They did allow someone up on that, right above their head on that walkway. There was a security guard, okay? And they did have it taped off to where you could not stand directly above the tent. So that's debunked as well.
Getting death threats and being eviscerated, my character's being attacked by people whose names I don't even want to mention. I haven't even watched a video of either of them. Probably
his character is being attacked because of himself, because of his narcissistic inability to be quiet. That's why his character is being attacked, because he just can't stop.
In 5 years. And it's saturated. I mean, my social media is saturated with clips that I don't even solicit, which is telling me they've got massive money, making money hand over fist on this clickbait that Christians are participating in. And I heard on the program, on a clip, and I saw the head of his security detail share the text. And he showed the text from the university that we have the roofs covered. We got you covered. So that shuts down two of the lies. The other was apparently my father was involved, that naval intelligence. My dad died 10 years ago. The last 15 years of his life, he had Alzheimer's. He never stepped foot in Israel. He was naval intelligence because he trained dolphins on his third tour in Vietnam. Give me a break. He was a highly decorated Bronze Star, Legion of Merit. He had a stellar naval career. I mean, I just down the list, anything pertaining to me is a complete lie. And those are things that are public. So I get to a point where I think, how long are we going to do this? Charlie was a builder. Charlie built Turning Point, the largest conservative youth movement in the world, on nothing more than the spoken word. Logos that you bring order out of chaos.
All right, last time I'm pausing this because we only have like a minute left of what we're going to listen to, because I can't listen to him. I don't know about you guys, but like his voice literally makes me ill. I can't. The lies, his demeanor, he gives me the ick. But I just think it's so interesting that he's sitting here saying that asking questions is wrong, critically thinking is wrong, discussing something is wrong. No one has flat out come out and said you did this or you had to do with this. It is all discussion. It's all discussion. And these people in the background, they're like, yeah, yeah. I wonder, like, are some of these people paid to be in there, like rah-rahing? Because I go to a really good church and like no one's yelling when they're talking. And this isn't even, like I said, this doesn't even seem church sermon like at all. So just curious. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, but I would never go to a place like this.
The microphone on the events that he would have at the campuses was primarily on his lap or on the table because he did more listening than he did talking. He understood this group of young people better than anyone in the United States. He understood the Y and the Z generation. He even understood millennials. And he knew that they were a non-traditional conservative voting bloc that was critical in the winning of the election and part of what they call the MAGA movement. But these 18 to 30-year-olds have been raised not in education but indoctrination on a steady stream of anti-Semitism and pro-Palestinian propaganda. And they believe it. And then you have older folks that watch Fox News and you get 3.5 million views a night on some of the larger shows, and then you got guys like Mark Levin that just kind of remind me of an angry guy in your neighborhood that said, "Get off my lawn." He gets a little intense for me, and I can't. It's really. And then guys like Tucker Carlson, who I actually appreciate, especially during COVID. Now where he's going is just cray cray. And the vice president, and then the Heritage Foundation with Roberts. And as I'm watching this, and I went over to Israel, the rise of anti-Semitism in America and throughout all the world is reminiscent of 1935, 1936 Nazi Germany. There's 18 million Jews, 18 million plus or minus Jews worldwide, about a third are in Israel, a third in the U.S., and a third worldwide. And there's 2 billion Muslims. There's one Jewish nation, I think less than the size of New Jersey. And there's over 50 predominantly Muslim nations. You want to talk about genocide? How do you perform a genocide while you're feeding the people that you're annihilating and giving them medical?
We're just going to stop it there. But why are we now talking about Tucker Carlson and JD Vance? Why? What do they have to do with anything? Nothing. Nothing. Once again, we're bringing them into this because of asking questions. It's what it comes back to, you guys, like asking questions. Don't ask questions. Accept the food that we're shoving down your throat. Don't ask anything. 0 questions. I mean, I don't know what else to say. This is like embarrassing to even watch. That's all I'm going to show you guys of this. I I can't stand him. I really can't. I can't stand the look of him, the talk of him. Everything about him it's just icky. Something doesn't add up. I'm really surprised at how many people go and listen to this nonsense. Because if I was going to church and this is what I was getting, there I could read my Bible at home and get more value, you know? So, let's go over a little bit about what he talked about here. So he's going over the events of that day again, okay, from phone calls to changing clothes all over again for the millionth time. Not surprising, more details are changed and more things don't add up. Once again, we're walking away with more questions than answers. This is like every time someone comes out and talks, right? So, my question really here is why is it, if we're telling the truth, okay, we're telling the truth about the events of 9/10. Why are there so many versions of this story? Because when you're telling the truth, you don't need to recap all these details and details don't change because it's the truth. Okay. So he also admits that he assumed Mikey was covered in blood and that when he had seen him on FaceTime, those were not the clothes that he had seen Mikey in earlier in the day. So was he watching like through FaceTime of Charlie speaking? What that was weird to me. I'm curious like what that was about, okay? And then you don't even verify the information about the blood all over the clothes before you speak about it publicly. Like I said, we're just regurgitating things. But remember, guys, he does not speak on anything that he doesn't know is fact. He only speaks about facts. But he's assumed all these other things. Okay. Then he brings up Mikey was at a hotel in Salt Lake City. What? What? I mean, when? How does that fit into the timeline? I have so many questions about that. So confused. The security guards and Frank Turk were given scrubs. I've worked in the medical field, like I said, guys, in some capacity since I was like 19 years old. Okay. We never gave scrubs away to anybody. Never. Okay. Never gave people scrubs to change into. Those scrubs cost the hospital money. In medical device sales, I actually obviously would have to change into the hospital scrubs to be able to go into the OR because it's a sterile environment and change out of them and put them in the hamper and give them back. You don't get to keep those scrubs, okay? And yeah, we just never gave them away. So that is interesting to me that they were given scrubs. But again, we can't even verify this because there's like no footage and anyone coming out from the hospitals, which I think is another weird detail. If you were at the ERs are busy places. You mean to tell me there was no one in the parking lot when Charlie pulled up and he was being pulled out and nobody sitting in the waiting room that would have watched Charlie be wheeled in or, like security guard Brian Herpole, is that how you say his name? He was like, "Oh, well, I cut, his shirt off. I did this, I did this. We were covered in blood." I mean, if I was sitting in a waiting room and people were rushing in like that and everyone was covered in blood, I know I would be looking. But you don't hear any of these stories. Like there's no one talking. There's no one to talk about what they saw that day. There's no pictures, there's no video, there's no nothing. We don't even have police station footage of Tyler Robinson turning himself in. That's lost. So I'm guessing hospital footage is lost. I'm guessing everyone is gagged from the hospital. But yet, once again, this gag order, for even Brian Herpool, remember the gag order exists, right? But he's talking about it. He's doing an interview. So does the gag order only work when it's convenient for you to talk or not talk? Because that's kind of how it looks. And that's really not how a legal gag order works. I have so many questions about that. I don't know. Let me know if you guys work at a hospital and you guys have given away scrubs. Please let me know in the comments because I have never seen that. I'm willing to bet that you haven't seen that, but you want to know what? Like stranger things have happened. I don't know. Maybe they had a really nice nurse who managed to go find some scrubs. I don't know. So just let me know in the comments what you guys think. This gets worse by the day. We have more questions now about Mikey being in Salt Lake City in a hotel, changing. Why is he in Salt Lake City? Why is he changing? I don't know. Like he was at the hospital, so Frank Turek and everybody's at the hospital. Then Mikey hightailed it out of there by himself, but everyone else stayed at the hospital. I don't know. There's just I feel like there's so many things not adding up. I also think it's interesting and Baron Coleman, if you don't follow him, you should follow him. He has great stuff. But he brought up a great point about like them talking about JD Vance. Erica Kirk is endorsing JD Vance. She's very pro JD Vance. So I think it's interesting that now we're seeing Rob McCoy up there not talking good about JD Vance, right? And talking bad about MAGA and like I don't know, just this whole thing is just it's very bizarre. So I'm just curious to see what you guys think. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I took a couple days off to really just take a breather. I'm obviously new to creating content, but this is my okay, so it'll be my third Thanksgiving without my dad. He passed in 2023, August of 2023. And I just the holidays when you're I think they always do, but being that it's only year 3, I'm still learning how to be without my dad and I wanted to find the gratitude and family. And even though my dad isn't here anymore, I was really trying to um just be grateful that I had such a present father, somebody who loved his kids, somebody who, I don't know, he just taught us so much and I just miss him so much. And so I wanted to take those few days to be present with my husband and just reflect. I don't know. Went to church today and um I don't know. I'll have to do a separate video about church today because it was such a good message and it relates so much to even just like me losing my dad. One of our pastors passed away in a car accident on Tuesday. And he was only a couple years older than me. He had 4 kids and a wife, and it was just devastating. So the message in church today was just such a good one. I would love to share it. So I'll do a separate video on that. I know most of my content is mainly on this kind of stuff. So it'd be really good to like talk a little bit about like Christian faith and being, a lukewarm warm Christian. And I was a Christian who didn't go to church for a long time into the last couple years. And so there's a lot to talk about there and why I didn't go to church. And that's relatable, I think, and how people try to shame you for that. And I just want to say, like, if you're, at the end of this video, if you're a new Christian, if you are just starting out your faith journey, do not let other people shame you if you make a mistake, like a swear word or something. Yes, the goal is, and even me, I'm always trying to do better, you guys. Like, I, as a Christian, should not swear. And sometimes in my content, I get really passionate and one slips out. But I am a new Christian. I am learning. I am a sinner and I am trying to get better. And that's all you can do is pray for guidance and wisdom and discernment and try to wake up every day and do better than the previous, right? So don't let someone make you feel like you're less than or because you didn't do something like never say a swear word that it's you know what I mean? It defines you as a Christian. It doesn't because at the end of the day we all make mistakes and we're going to continue to make mistakes every day. You're going to continue to have your moments and you just pray on it and you do the work like I'm doing. So I just want to put that out there because you do get people who say stuff like that and it's just not very encouraging when you're coming into your faith journey and it makes you feel judged. And it's the reason why people don't go to church to begin with, to be honest, because they just feel like it's just a bunch of hypocrisy and judgment and like they're not worth fixing. And so I just encourage people to be careful of how you talk to people. Anyways, I will see you all in the next one. I hope you guys had a fabulous Thanksgiving. Be sure to like and share, comment, all those things. It helps me, it helps the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one.